Word. Now, I want to go back real quick before we. So the next playlist, we call it the B-sides. But before we get to the B-sides, I just wanted to say something about neo soul. So, Tone, go to playlistparty.online. You see Tone's mixes. Tone is clearly, if you want to hear some neo soul mixed with some hip hop, go to Tone's mixes, because that's his lane. And that was the lane in Columbus for a minute, from like year 2002 or 3 to like 2008 or 9. Eric Roberson was here, it feels like every month.
Every day.
Dwele was here. Music Soul Child was here. It was like we were the neo soul capital of the United States for some reason. But I always felt a certain way about neo soul because I treated it, because I was a hip hop head and I'm a De La Soul head. And I remember when they had a song, I think it was on De La Soul is Dead, when they was calling R&B rapping bullshit. It's like, what you mean rapping bullshit? And it was this whole big thing about, it was when R&B started experimenting more with hip hop. And there was a backlash. But I felt like, in my opinion, and Tone studied this because he has basically a PhD in hip hop. I always took it as that was the birth of neo soul. I always looked at neo soul as it means rap and hip hop, which De La Soul backlies like rap and bullshit. So I wanted to ask Tone Capone, is that how you saw it?
Nah, I saw them as two distinctly different things. Personally, I mean, I think they were talking more about rappers, singing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That was my interpretation. I could be wrong, but from a neo soul standpoint, I'm looking at like folks who are derivative of Stevie Wonder. You know what I mean? Stevie Wonder, and then like James Poyser, who's like kind of like one of the godfathers of neo soul, who produced for everybody. You know what I mean? I remember sitting in college, and I started looking and reading credits. And I started to see the same names over and over and over again. And then I realized, man, I must really like this guy because he's on all of this stuff that I'm in love with musically. And so shout out to James Poyser. And so fortunately later in life I was able to work with him and some other folks. But yeah, neo soul for me is Stevie Wonder. It's like the cousins of Stevie Wonder and soul music. Erykah Badu and Kadar Massenberg kind of coined the phrase when Erykah Badu came on the scene. But it was like a new era of soul music that, had hip hop undertones. And so for me, that's the hip hop undertones. Yeah, it was relative neighbors. And so I loved it.
So that's why I wanted to ask. He's an expert, so I concentrated more on the hip hop undertones. It was just like when Erykah Badu come out, it felt like D'Angelo. When D'Angelo came out, I remember seeing the album cover because it's before streaming. You can't. The album cover, I was like, that's a rapper. And when I hit play, I expected raps, and it was like not raps. So it was like, ugh, and it was just like, but it's real sweet. He had like hip hop sensibilities, but R&B talent and music sensibilities. So anyway, I thought that era, especially kind of Puffy was still rocking, so he was really mixing R&B and hip hop. It was just during that time, and I thought neo soul just kind of come, and I just think it got oversaturated, and people started hating on it. I don't know if there's a renaissance. You see a renaissance coming, or you think we're in one?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, it's creeping back in, and people don't want to admit it. But like the Ari Lennox of the world, the Summer Walkers of the world, yeah, the Hers of the world, they bringing back them chords, them 7 and 9 chords, and I'm with it.
French Kiwi Juice,
yes.
Tom Misch, like all of that is really just the next
iteration.
Yeah, it's they're
the grandchildren.
Yeah.
Word. But it's still like, I think it's a labeling thing. So if you know anything about me, I'm a visual guy. I'm a creative. So I look at things from a marketing perspective, and I always dislike you can come in.
Okay, I want to
Yeah. We in the backyard. There ain't no rules.
What up?
Entered the building. We have
What up?
We have Miss Dawn Dixon. Oh, hey. Oh no, it's like a half hug.
That was a half hug, half headlock. That was a hug mug.
So
that was half hug, half mug.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
What up?
I want to see Breaker.
I know Breaker's the star. But yeah, just to wrap up the hip, I just see. I think the neo soul label did it in. I never liked the label. I hated the label. It's like labels always get over. Labels will always become uncool to me. Like I never saw Jill Scott as neo soul. I just thought it was dope. But then the label neo soul kind of hurt neo soul artists. So hopefully this new Renaissance people don't label it, in my opinion, as neo soul. Now my boy Tone may disagree, but I think it's the label that got hated on, not the music.